Hello, everyone. I think that we'll wait maybe one more minute. I know we have several more that are going to be hopping on with us. Well, I think that we'll go ahead and get started, knowing that those other people can just kind of jump in when they log in. So hi, everyone, and welcome to our Greater Fort Dodge Update Program. Happy New Year. We're really glad that you're here, and we are excited to be kicking off 2021 with this panel of community leaders who are going to be sharing information about what took place and what progress took place in 2020, and then also what we can look forward to in 2021. So here's how we're gonna kind of format it today. Many of you submitted questions in advance. We received quite a few questions and a lot of duplicate questions, which that was nice because it gave us some indication of some themes that you guys were curious about. So we're gonna be going through all of those questions that were pre-submitted. And then if there is any time at the end, I'll go through the chat box and we'll go through any questions that you guys asked in the chat box. But please know that if you have a follow-up question to one that somebody's already answering, then by all means, please type that in there too, and I'll try to be monitoring that and get to those as well. So as we go through our questions, I'm going to be asking them, and it's important to note that, the questions that you ask, probably any number of our panelists could answer any of them, because many of the projects that take place are very much collaborative efforts between the city, the county, and the Growth Alliance. But we're going, just for the nature of time, we're going to be selecting one of our panelists to kind of be the point person for that question, and then any of them can kind of chime in with other comments at the end. So I think I'll start out now by introducing our panelists. So we have a group of community leaders here. The Greater Fort Dodge Growth Alliance CEO, Dennis Plautz. David Fierke, he is the city manager with the city of Fort Dodge. And then we have Mark Campbell. He is a Webster County supervisor and serves as the chairman of the board. So we'll jump right into our questions here. So one of the first questions that was asked multiple times was about the mall redevelopment. So David, we'll let you take the lead on this. Can you give us an update on the mall, the redevelopment, and even kind of the process of that, and any idea on a timeline?
Sure, and thanks everyone for joining. I haven't seen this many attendees on a Zoom webinar since the City Council considered a mask mandate. So it's kind of cool to have so many people on. So yeah, the first question is about the mall, and the mall is proceeding. We've seen the demolition of the anchor stores. We have the Unity Point Express Clinic is going up. It's going vertical. We got the Discount Tire under construction. There will be a new road, Second Avenue South, which is in design right now and planned for construction this spring. That'll be, again, a block south of the existing First Avenue South. There are no other announcements that I can make as far as potential new occupants there. There's a lot of contact being made with a lot of national retailers that are interested in what we're doing there and what we got going. A bit of a timeline is, for now, there's going to be an effort in design underway and then construction to build the first of, I think, a couple strip centers that are going to be facing Fifth Avenue South. One of the goals is to create a center that then we can, for any existing tenants in the mall that wish to move over, can then move over to the new center, and that's in under consideration, and I think will be constructed yet next year. And then the existing portions of the mall will remain up for at least until that new center is done. Is the plan for now. There could be some moving around of stores within the building as we're working on that. Again, it's a long work in process. You know, the city is involved, is providing some financial support to help pay for the demolition costs, and getting, you know, it's a very expensive venture to think about taking down a mall and then building infrastructure for such a large site. So the city is using TIF to pay for that. And just I know it's not a question I was asked, but for a point of clarification, since it was in the news, is that the city doesn't get involved in negotiating leases. So, you know, we hear about a Dunham's that is closing, for what I understand. I haven't had any official contact, nor anyone in the city official contact with Dunham's. What we understood, we heard about it at the same time everyone else, that we understood that they were working on a space within the new strip center. Again, whether or not that happens, I don't know. And what Dunham's decision now to date is theirs. But we don't get involved in fixing their rents or things like that. If Dunham chooses to not be part of that retail area in the future and they want to look at other space, the city will do a lot to help them. And if there's a redevelopment cost, we can help them with that. But, you know, at this point it's a transaction between a landlord and tenant, and we're really not part of it as far as our involvement in the mall development. So that's about it for now, Jill.
All right. Moving on to our next question, and Mark, we'll go ahead and start out with you for this one. Can you provide an update on Iowa's crossroads of global innovation and any developments or potential developments that are going to be happening out there? For those of you that are unfamiliar with Iowa's crossroads of global innovation, that is the industrial site that is out west of town on Highway 7.
Thank you. And again, thank you everybody for joining. It's great to see this many people participate and join in. So Iowa's Crossroads of Innovation is a shining star in Webster County. We're very proud of our partners out there, Cargill, CJ Valero. They continue to work to better their companies and the products that they provide. We have been meeting with some other companies. We're excited that we have a transload facility that is looking at coming to the Crossroads of Global Innovation. That is a partnership with the CN, and they will be adding a Class 1 switch into that area to provide more rail service and an opportunity for other facilities to utilize our area as a drop and go from rail to truck or truck to rail. So we're very excited about that. We're also working with a chemical company that is looking at coming to our site. This was brought to us by Cargill and through the Growth Alliance going down to the World Bio in Des Moines. So the conversations continue out there growing, the jobs continue to grow, those companies continue to reinvest, and we're very fortunate to have them as great partners.
Yeah, Mark, or Jill, if I could add to that, I think sometimes people don't see a lot of things going on out there, but there has been constant evolution in what's been built between the city with utilities and the county purchasing additional land, selling it to Cargill. When the three companies that you're all familiar with initially made their investments, it was about $750 million. And there's been at least a couple $100 million more spent out there since then that we don't talk about and the people don't realize. And each of the companies have added jobs beyond what they originally started out with. So it's a constant evolution. And as Mark said, there's just a lot of interest still in that site based on what we've built.
All right, thank you. Now let's move on to housing, and Dennis, we'll have you keep the lead with this one. So if you want to provide just kind of an update on where we're at with housing and any development updates with that.
Sure. A number of years ago, back in the 1990s, and then again in the early 2000s, we did a couple of studies and we did surveys of new hires to try and determine what we needed to do in this area to improve our ability to get a workforce to come and work here and live here. And one of the things that really stood out was lack of housing alternatives, and to a large degree, lack of quality housing that was available. So that became a priority. And and it's worked out very well. The Fort Dodge Betterment Foundation has participated with the city of Fort Dodge on Williams Bend. The county has put some incentives in place, and it is having an impact. I don't have the county numbers, but I can give you Fort Dodge numbers. In 2017, when this started, we had 5 new housing starts in the community. Today, since 2017, we've built 144 units and we've got 130 being built right now. So 274 units are either being built or have been built, as compared to 5 in 2017. And then Vicki reconfirmed me that they also have another 271 units planned or in planning right now beyond those numbers. So I think what's been done has been very successful. And, sometimes we don't realize, but just take Prestige, for example, in Wright County. The fiscal impact study that was done there by Dr. Ernie Goss said that will require another 1,907 new housing units in this 10-county region. Now, that seems like a lot, but let's just say he was wrong by even half. That's still another 800 or 900 units that we don't have today just because of that project, not counting anything else going on in the region. And we do look at everything as a region, and housing is certainly one of those things. So we've not only partnered with incentives, but we worked with the state legislature to get workforce housing credits set aside for rural areas, which includes our entire 10-county area around here. And that's what is really making these cost effective and allowing people to build these and sell them as workforce housing. So that's pretty much my report on that. It is what it is. Some of the larger projects were Williams Bend, Gypsum Creek out on 10th Avenue North, District 29, they call it, which is north of the mall by the middle school, where if you drive out there now, they're building 94 new rentals, and they have 25 townhomes planned as soon as those are done. There's been rehab like Phillips Middle School, and then a lot of smattering of other housing around this community. And I also know there's quite a bit going on in the county. I don't know if Mark, you want to comment on that or address that.
We're very fortunate to have communities like Gowrie that have been very progressive in looking at their housing needs and putting together incentives. The Gowrie Development Committee has worked diligently to get people in new houses down there. So it's an amazing time to be in Webster County to see this type of growth that not that many years ago, you didn't have. So we're fortunate to have the people, the predecessors that put these things in place that we're able to build off of. And we're very, very blessed to have the people today that are willing to take the time to serve on committees and the time and the effort to put together these incentives to bring people back.
And if I could add on the specifics on like the couple projects, the one going in by the District 29, the one going in south of the middle school by Eagle Construction, that 90 plus apartment units, 20 plus townhomes. That's just phase 1. Phase 2 is a mirror image of that. So that'll double. And that's the apartment complex that, we've been trying to get in Fort Dodge for a while, that people always ask for, your typical young, new professional place they're looking for with a clubhouse and a pool. It's even, I think, gonna have a little small dog park in it as well. So we're really excited about getting that open. I think it should do well. In Williams Bend, we got 4 houses under construction now on 24th Avenue North, the potential for 4 more yet. Getting started, this winter, early spring. Noticed that Mike McCarville's duplex project. His final duplex is going vertical now, so it's finishing that out. So we're really excited about the projects that are actually ongoing right now.
You know, and lastly, if we want to look at a lot of these projects, they're locals. It's neat to see the local people investing. I can give you an example out in Colville. Look at the homes and the townhomes going up out there, you know, and that's a local investor. And you just mentioned Mike, you know, he's been a big part of Fort Dodge, Mike McCarville, for a long time. So we're very fortunate to have these people stepping forward to do these projects.
Yeah, I agree. Lastly, Mark, one final comment. The project out by the middle school actually is done by an out-of-town developer. And he went in and actually contracted and hired an individual or a company that he uses to do a housing assessment of the area. And what they found was just, it reflected what we found in the housing studies we did. So it was added confidence that need is there. And clearly the things that are being built are being rented and sold as soon as they're done. So that's the final bit of evidence that, you know, that I think is important. And I do know that Booty is renting units out there before they're even finished. So.
Great. Okay. Any other comments about housing? All right. Moving on, the next question that was submitted was around development at Iowa Central. So the question was, can you please provide an update on Iowa Central's Greehey Family Student Success Center? And I think we're going to have Dennis speak on this.
Well, what I'm going to speak on is limited, and it was provided by Jim Kirsten, who I think now might be on the call today. So if I butcher it, Jim, send something through the chat center. The Family Student Success Center started construction in 2019, and they occupied the building in September of 20 this last year. It was a turnkey project that cost $12 million, including a contribution, a generous contribution of $3 million from the Greehey Family Foundation, who's an individual that actually started Valero Energy and has a foundation that he gifts to communities. And being a Fort Dodger, he grew up here, graduated from high school here, and is very fond of Fort Dodge and has made several contributions to the center and to the college. A few of the things that are going to be located or that are located out there include admissions, financial aid, an academic advising center, the business office, distance learning, administration, and a variety of other things. So it's a very complete student center. And if you haven't been in there, it's pretty nice.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Jim, for supplying that information. Any updates that take place and any progress that takes place at Iowa Central, I mean, really benefits our entire region. So that, like Dennis said, I look forward to going out there myself and checking it out. The next question that was submitted is around quality of life amenities. So Mark, we're going to have you start out with this and talk about the different quality of life initiatives that are taking place in the county.
So about a year ago, the supervisors were asked to join a meeting with Webster County Conservation and Matt Cosgrove. The Conservation Board has been planning some quality of life initiatives for a while now, and it was time to start the conversation of where do we go and what do we do? And thanks to great partners like Midas and the city, we're able to this year start paving a full trail around Kennedy Lake. And then Supervisor Dinklaw has adamantly for years said he wants a trail to Badger. And we now, along with a great partner, Snyder and Associates, we have been able to put together a preliminary design to look at how do we get a trail to Badger? And then maybe in the next couple of years, connect it with Three Rivers up in Humboldt. Our goal is to truly give people something to do when they're not working, an opportunity to enjoy the amenities that we see all over the state and other places, but right here at home. So we've also taken that, and the conservation will be announcing here in the next few weeks, maybe month, a new conservation and education center. And we'll be partnering with the city of Fort Dodge on that. And we're excited to have that come to fruition. We're very, very fortunate to have Matt Cosgrove and his amazing team work hard on this. And we've met now with some of our small towns, and we will also be rolling out some trails that will be going in the southern part of Webster County. We're excited. We haven't really got the final plans on it yet. We're still working out how we're going to do it, but we will have great partners with the city of Gowrie and the city of Dayton with these projects. So we're very, very excited. And yeah, David, do you want to go from there?
Sure. Sorry for the pause. I am muting myself because there's a little construction going on in our new office space. But yeah, we're excited about the county's plans, and we're working hand in hand to make a full-on great experience for anybody in Webster County. When you talk about the riverfront where the county's conservation facility is going to go, the city is ready to invest about $2 million in improvements into that area. And those will be a combination of in-water improvements and shoreline improvements. I think our first goal is to do some improvements down by where the former little dam is, to make fishing super accessible and good, and create fishing holes and a lot of things, and then create some, again, other river features. There'll be some river features, basically the old casino park where the county facility is going. That'll be, for fishing. It'll be some bike trails, and also include, some whitewater features as we're looking at for that. And then as money becomes available in the future, we're going to do some improvements around the old hydro facility. So it's probably worth mentioning that what you're seeing now is not the completed project. Yes, all the dams are out, but we're not done with what we plan on doing in that area. And then likewise with trails, the city and county partnered with on how we're working together to do both the trail for around Kennedy Lake, and then also making a connection from the end of the city's existing nature trail there on D14 and connecting that up, which was the original plan 15 years ago, to connect it up to where the paved trail that heads out to Kennedy, and then that ultimately will go out to Badger, which I know have been Danklaw's projects. So Jill, we need to have a ribbon cutting for that section of the trail, and Keith is going to lead the ride out to Badger and back, and it can't be a motorized vehicle. So I'm excited for that. That'll be fun.
And just to let people know, the quality of life is exciting because it's twofold. It gives everybody an opportunity for something new and exciting to do, but it is also a great way to showcase Webster County. And the Conservation Department and the DNR have been great partners, and a great example of a return on investment is our OHV park. In 2017, the OHV park, the revenue out there really wasn't a whole lot. It was about $8,900 for that whole year. This past year, even in a COVID year, the revenue for that park is $51,900. That's people coming from all over the state, all over the Midwest, and enjoying the amenities that we have here. And as they do that, they look at the area, they might like the area, they might consider investing in the area. So it's also sales. It's also an opportunity for them to appreciate what we do and what we have here. So we really appreciate all the help and the partners that we have. Obviously the Growth Alliance, the city is an amazing partner, but when you look at some of our bigger projects, the DNR and the state become even bigger partners.
Just to add to that, Mark, when I talked about housing earlier, I talked about it being a workforce or even a quality of life issue. And when you talk about the things that people generally think of quality of life, like trails and things like this, I don't think we realize, we think, well, we're building these for us to use. I look at it as we're building these for future people that may want to come and live here. And it's a necessary part, in our opinion, of creating and providing a good workforce for the exponential job growth that's been occurring here in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and it's a really cool trail network. I don't know if anyone's been able to go on the trail that's on the east side of the Des Moines River, heading south past where the old little dam was. That is an amazing trail that just opened, last fall.
Well, and as these projects continue to grow, people see a lot of little things done in different areas, but they start to connect. The trails are a great example of that. But if you also want to look at some other small projects that have really begun to grow, Main Street Gallery is a great example. The community came together and saved their grocery store. And if you look at the stores down there, even before that, the storefronts down there, the private investment in the community came together, and it's an absolute amazing place to go shop. So people may come for the OHV park, but they're going to stop in other parts of the county to shop and eat and enjoy themselves.
I'll just interject one last thing too. Everything you've heard discussed, almost everything, maybe everything, would not have happened without the cooperation of Webster County and the city of Fort Dodge. I mean, I can't stress enough how important that is. It's made all the difference in the world to me in this, in our economy in this area.
And for the county, we can't say enough about the partner we have with the city of Fort Dodge and the growing partnerships that we have with all the small communities as they take the time to start looking at what their future is, what their plans are going to be, and what they want to be in 10 and 20 years.
Absolutely. Dennis, you kind of touched a little bit as you were talking about a variety of, quality of life initiatives that we have going on. And you touched a little bit about the connection between that and workforce and attracting a workforce. And that is one of our next questions is around job creation in our region. What does that look like? Are you able to share some numbers around that? And then what are some of the steps that we are taking to attract that workforce?
Okay, well, that's a whole separate program in itself, because we spend half our time on workforce issues. I think Kelly Halstead and the Workforce Committee has been very active for a number of years. But one of the things we do, we share with our board at our quarterly meetings what we call a pipeline. Kelly puts this together, and it's there's no names associated with it, but it lists the type of client that we're in contact with, for example, animal health or biotech or renewable chemical. We put that kind of description on it. And then we put what their potential investment would be, how many jobs they would create, and what the timeline or the status is. And these are companies that that we have a real connection with, that are going to do something at some time in the future, and that we're talking to. Now, doesn't mean they're going to do it here. I mean, they could be looking internationally. They could be looking at Iowa. They could look at 50 states. But something's going to happen, so we're in conversation with them. And I will tell you that in terms of the CapEx or investment, right now that pipeline shows about $947 million. And I know there's about $150 million project that's not on here at this time. And it shows 1,862 jobs. The point being, that has not dropped off during this last year, during the pandemic. Now, Mark mentioned something earlier. We did lose temporarily a company in chemical manufacturing that was going to make an announcement in the first quarter of this year. And because of the year their parent had and their balance sheet changes this last year, they've deferred that for a year. And so, there's a little bit of that going on, but certainly people are prepared for the end of the pandemic. A couple other specific things I would mention that you might not think about would be, Aml Riverside. People probably don't know what's going on down there. It used to be owned by the labs, if you will, Beringer Ingelheim, and they closed it, and it was going to become just a warehouse in about 30 days until a partnership developed with Aml Riverside. It's 3 or 4 years old now. They were committed to the city to provide 30 jobs. They are up over 100 jobs down there now, very quietly. They've invested money, they've added jobs, and we've had to, find employees for them. You read in the Messenger recently, Koch Industries out east of town is making a huge investment in updating their technology, their environmental controls, and adding capacity at that plant, which will make it much more sustainable for the long run than it would have otherwise been. A year ago, Nestle spent $12 million quietly on a water treatment facility out there, obviously preparing their plant for the long term. You've got people that indirectly see the benefits, as an Ernie Goss would say, like White Transfer and Storage, who added $2 million warehouse expansions in the last 2 years to accommodate ancillary needs that a lot of these companies that are growing have. And of course, you know, because we are regional in our economy, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out to Cindy Litweiler and Prestige over in Wright County. I think Cindy's on the call, I heard. You know, 950 people, 250 million. And if you look at the fiscal impact study that Ernie Goss did for the 10 county area that Mid-Iowa Growth, I believe, paid for, they showed, where is it here? About $1 billion of regional impact annually to the 10 county area, from Franklin to Calhoun to Palo Alto and so on. So we are still seeing an awful lot of growth, and we really haven't seen it drop off. A couple of things I wanted to mention. It's not just jobs, but in the last 5 years, the state of Iowa's manufacturing average wage has been up 2%. In Webster County, it's up 7%. The Iowa wage from 2 years ago, the average manufacturing wage was $73,000+ a person. In Webster County, it's $85,555. So these are good paying jobs. They are in companies that have a reason to be here. And I'm still as optimistic as I was 3-4 years ago that this is going to continue in both Webster County and our region. The last thing I would point out relative, I'm going back to Prestige, is that they showed that because of that project, it would be responsible in the 10 county area in the long run for maintaining 3,834 jobs, aside from the 950 direct jobs that are out there at that plant. Examples of that would be, you know, in the trucking industry, there's another $62 million of income to people in the trucking industry. Wholesale trade, 33 million. And those kinds of numbers are true of a Cargill, a Prestige, a Valero, a CJ Bio, a Silgan, or an Elanco. And that's why we're worried about quality of life and housing and so on, because if they can't get a labor force to come to this region and live here and work here, then our recruitment efforts will be dead. So that's about as abbreviated as I can make that. I would tell you that because I think economic return is so important, we are going to this year update the original fiscal impact study that we did in Iowa's Crossroads of Global Innovation. And but what we found is that the study that was done in 2013 and 2014 has been pretty much right on and pretty accurate.
Mark or David, any comments on job creation?
No, I think Dennis covered it pretty well.
You did a great job.
All right, thank you. Okay, David, we'll go on to a question for you. Can you talk about the recent infrastructure upgrades that have taken place throughout the city, specifically storm sewer, sanitary sewer, water main upgrades, those type of upgrades?
Sure, we've been doing a lot of storm sewer work. The past week, the city implemented a storm sewer utility a number of years ago, probably even 10 or more now, and it's been very effective to allow us to tackle big stormwater projects that have been neglected for generations. You know, for example, the South Central stormwater project, which is the area just north of 15th Avenue South and in that 2,500 block area. You know, there's many blocks we're hitting with this thing, and so we're on phase 3. It was just bid, and it'll start in the spring. It's a 4-phase project. We're gonna pause after phase 3 and see how well it's working, because we think phase 3 might solve all the problems, and we'll see it working. But you know, that's something that I mean, it was brought to my attention. I think the first week I was working in Fort Dodge, and we got a problem there. We have the South Downtown project, which is new, and that's just under design. It's going to help get stormwater away from the downtown area, namely the fairway intersections that can tend to flood over there. The East Region, phase 4, which is basically storm sewer from Walgreens area along 25th Street, 5th Avenue South down, and then behind Fort Dodge Ford, and then into the basin that's built behind there will be the final phase for the East Region. That's been a tremendous project. That area doesn't, other than the phase we have to finish, the area doesn't have nearly the same impact with stormwaters. And those are all, I think, wonderful successes of things that it just took some long-term planning and some setting aside money to do with it. Moving on to storm sewer, we're on the community sewer initiative phase 2. Phase 1 was a $30 million initiative. Phase 2 is a $15 million initiative. Part of what you're going to see soon is another phase to the Duncombe sewer work that was completed this fall. You'll see rehab work all over the city. If you see one of those big sewer trucks parked in the middle of the intersection, that's our rehab contractor. Basically, they're lining sewers. 10th Avenue North sewer reconstruction is under design, and that'll be a new sanitary sewer leading towards 25th Street to help alleviate some of the capacity problems we have there and into the Knollcrest neighborhood. That'll be a reconstruction of 10th Avenue North as well. There's a potential for it to start this year, but I would be safe to say it's probably a 2021 project. Other thing you'll see going on right now, which is part of phase 2, is the Williams Bend sanitary sewer. If you've been up in the on Williams Drive up by Williams Bend, you've seen a lot of construction equipment and pipe. That is a sanitary sewer that will do 2 things. It will, well, it's kind of 3 things. We are reconstructing the River Forest lift station, which is old, undersized, and fails, which is an environmental issue we have to take care of. We are also building gravity sewer that will eventually serve not only the west side development of Williams Bend, but will connect to the existing sewer along Williams Drive, which suffers from some issues when there's stormwater and there's been some flooded basements north of there. This will have an overflow capacity for that sewer, so we're able to solve some more of our existing sewer problems with that project. On our big water main project is our Northwest Loop. We're building a loop from our existing system around Elanco, just south of Willow Ridge to 169, then back to the Starlight. That project has been bid. We got favorable bids. It's under construction. You know, that's fixing some dead ends. It's improving water pressure especially along 169 and you know, the Highway 7 interchange. So that should make that area more attractive for development, which I know there are people interested in that because of the crossroads. And it opens up a couple hundred acres for development in and around that area. So we're really excited about that. And solves the dead end issue we have along North 7th Street because of grades there. So we're really excited about these. They're all good fixes and also help with future development.
All right, great, thank you. And David, we're going to stay on you for the next question. We had a question that was submitted around revenue. So how has revenue changed this past year?
You know, fortunately, it hasn't been that bad. I think when the pandemic first hit and we saw shutdowns, that we were bracing for some bad experiences. We were thinking we could be up to $1 million of sales tax down with the pandemic. Now it turns out that our sales tax estimates that are done by the Iowa Department of Revenue are actually up from prior years. So we'll be collecting more sales tax. And what we're attributing that to is that now the city's get a portion of the sales tax from online sales. So when people make online sales in Fort Dodge, the city gets a portion of that sales tax collected. So that's new for us, and has helped fill that gap so we can continue with projects. There are projects we put on hold for a year that are definitely going to be done next year now that we realize our revenues are pretty stable. Other consumption revenues are, you know, like road use tax is still stable. That's, I mean, that we get that revenue based on gasoline taxes collected, and that's pretty stable for us as well. The one that is down significantly is hotel motel tax. It's down, it's trending down about 28%. Now we only get paid quarterly and there's a little bit of a delay. We're projecting next year to be maybe 13% down with that. And we'll see. Now on the good side of that is, as it relates to a city revenue, hotel motel tax goes for capital projects. So it's easy if your revenues are down to delay capital projects until you can afford to do that. Now, the Convention and Visitors Bureau relies on hotel motel for operations, but one of the good things they've done is they've planned for this and they have a significant reserve so that they have a bad year or so it doesn't harm their operations as far as their ability to fund things. Now, you know, but we need events that people can attend. so that's hopefully will change as we get towards the end of this epidemic. But all in all, our revenues are pretty solid, which is I think it's a blessing for us.
You know, if I could add to that, David, you mentioned, I think it's a good thing that we get retail sales tax now from online sales. It's point of delivery. But still, the economic return to us isn't as good as it would be if those people bought that item locally, because you don't have the profit margin and some of the other things that help employ people and keep comparison retail alive and well. So if you can, I'm just giving a little shout out to buy as much as you can locally, but it certainly is an improvement to be able to capture those retail sales that are online.
No, for sure. I mean, that's a good point, Dennis, and I could have made that too, is that, you know, the best thing for the economy is to buy locally, because then there's not just a sales tax that's coming back to the community. You have the profit in that, and you know, local merchants pay salaries and do all that stuff that spends the money back into the economy. So, you know, number one priority, shop locally. If you can't find it locally, darn it, but then buy it online and have it shipped here before you go to Des Moines and purchase it. So that's my little pitch.
So, and when we say local, we have Gowrie and Dayton grocery stores too. So, you know, we want to get out.
No, I mean, yeah, regionally, we are an economic region. I mean, we are.
We are.
And
I just want to get that in there.
Okay.
All right. So you guys already kind of answered a little bit, I think, of our next question. We had a question that was submitted around what are the present needs in the community and what can people or organizations do to help the community during this difficult time. And I think you guys definitely were talking about shopping local, and, you know, we have some businesses that could really use our support right now. So shopping local is absolutely imperative. And the Growth Alliance, we have really pushed that whole message for months upon months now, the importance of that. But can you guys think of anything else that, you know, people or organizations can do to help during this difficult time? Mark, let's start with you.
Yeah, that's a great question. We've had a lot of people call the county, and I guess we give the same response. Be a part of your community. Be a part of what you want to do. If you want to be more involved with your church, call the church. Just ask, what can I do? And I know sometimes there's the shyness of, you know, am I overstepping? I don't want to embarrass myself, but don't hesitate to call and ask. We have board positions open at the county that we're trying to get filled. I know there's nonprofits here in town that could use volunteers to help come stuff envelopes for mailings, for fundraising. The Lord's Cupboard is always looking for some assistance. Don't hesitate to ask. That is the biggest thing I can say. If you're shy, I don't know, reach out to us. We'll help you somehow, but be a part of your community.
Dennis or David, anything else to add to that?
Well, I would add to what Mark said. You know, I've lived here in Fort Dodge in good times and bad times, and we're in some of the best times we've had now. But I attribute the good times that we're in now to participation, more people participation, more cooperation among groups, you know, city, county, more regional cooperation among all of ourselves, the communities within the county that are working together. I have no doubt in my mind that that is probably the single biggest reason that we haven't suffered as much as some areas, and that we are doing as well as we have been doing.
I guess I would just add, I just really remark at the fact that, you know, people will take the initiative and find ways to help. You know, I'm just always, you know, pleasantly surprised when I see, you know, someone, you know, whether it's handing out hams before Christmas or the free meals that were going out last spring. I mean, that was just, you know, people just took the initiative and just did it. I just think that's really, really heartwarming to see that.
I think a great example of that is this year's election. You know, our election workers typically are an older group of workers, some of probably the more at-risk people during COVID, but yet we had an amazing turnout that came in, and I really want to tell them thank you for doing that. And along with that, we had kind of a new generation of younger people calling our auditor's office, asking how they can be a part of and help work the elections. So again, don't hesitate to ask. We need a lot of people to get where we want to go and participate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if people think that City Hall or the Webster County government or the Growth Alliance is going to do it all, it's not going to happen without your participation. I mean, it's a fact.
Absolutely. And if you're in a position to donate, I think the Community Foundation and United Way has a really great pulse on the needs of the community as well. But so we have about 10 minutes left and we still have a couple of questions, so we're going to keep moving. Mark, do you want to provide an update on the clock tower?
Sure. If you've had the opportunity to drive by, or please don't hesitate to stop and take a look at the clock tower project. And roof restoration is moving along very nicely. If you come into the downtown area from the southwest roundabout, you can look up and see the new skylight in. A lot of the new copper on the south and west side have been installed, and they're starting to do quite a bit on the clock tower itself. So we appreciate the great partnership we have with Newman, and don't hesitate. If you guys want to come in and take a look, please do. The craftsmanship, the people working there, and the project itself as a whole has been an amazing undertaking.
Great. Okay. And did you already say, do you have a timeline for completion?
We don't at this time. A lot of the copper that's been shipped over has been hand done here. They're still waiting on some, and just a lot of the work itself has taken a little bit more time than anticipated, but we meet with them weekly and they've provided updates. There are a few people that have had the privilege of going up and taking a tour, and yeah, I think so far so good. It's Supervisor Carlson's kind of been the lead on this project, so the project, as from what we see, is moving along very nicely.
Great. So we had one question come in from the chat that I think we'll move to now. And David, this will be one for you. Can you give us an update on the Warden?
Not a whole lot's going on with the Warden right now. No. No, it's one of the, unfortunately, it's a project that's going to get mired in a legal battle, which is where we're at now between the developers and the city, accusing the city of not doing enough. So, and there's just steps in the legal process that are going to have to work itself through. You know, unfortunately, it's slow. It's a federal issue now, so a federal court issue, which is moving incredibly slow because of COVID. So, I mean, I think it's probably not going to be too hard to resolve other than just timelines and getting things done. So there's no real action on the Warden itself. Now the Wakanda Annex, we're still moving forward with asbestos and environmental remediation on that building. And the intent is to demolish it. The city has set aside funds to pay for both the environmental remediation and the demolition of the Wakanda Annex, which is the blonde building just directly adjacent to the Warden. So that is in the city's possession, and barring any unforeseen environmental issue, we should be able to start taking that down, relatively soon, which in historic redevelopment terms doesn't mean necessarily this year. So, but hopefully we can get moving on it. It is one of those kind of thorns in the side that we need to one day see something happen. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you. I knew you'd appreciate that question. All right, so we just have one more question that was submitted, and so and just a few minutes left here in our program. But if you do have any, please still submit them in the chat. But we will we'll kind of use this as our closing question here. And the question is, what do you view as one of the best things that happened in Fort Dodge and the region in 2020? So Dennis, let's start with you for that question. 2020,
huh? Well, I look at things a little bit differently, and I'm not going to answer the question, but I'm going to give an answer. I still think in the last few years, some things that are going to have the biggest impact in our region are the completion of 520. I believe that the continuing evolution of Iowa's crossroads of global innovation and the work that's been done by the city and the county, as well as agreements that have been moving ahead that are some are in place and some are yet to come in regard to land purchases out there. I think those two are going to shape our future more than anything. And I know that wasn't exactly the question, but and I've also, in relooking at these fiscal impact studies, it becomes easier and easier to see why the multipliers are so good out there with the large investments, the global access to the world. That if you're in rural America, if you don't have global access, you're going to be pretty limited. We've got two of the biggest privately held companies in the world here, Coke and Cargill, which makes them a lot more nimble. They can just do things without worrying about stock prices. And we've got these companies that use raw materials, which, rather than buying steel in Pennsylvania and bringing it in here, they're buying corn and adding value to it. So I guess that's just my optimistic speech. And I'll just leave it at that.
All right, thank you. David, how about you?
Yeah, I'll take a different approach than Dennis, and I think I'll preface it by, although I've been in Fort Dodge for 14 years now, one of my kids was born here, two of my kids have graduated from Fort Dodge Senior High, I still feel like I have the ability to have an outsider's perspective and detach sometimes and look at things. And 2020 showed me again, not the first time, but it showed me how well this community can come together and just get things done. I mean, when times get tough, Dodgers just do it and get things done. I mean, when you look around at the rest of the country and cities are falling apart and things are shut down, Dodgers went to work. They got things done. The frontline workers went to work, whether it's, I don't want to, gas station attendants, grocery store workers, or cops, or firefighters, or medics, nurses, clinicians, doctors. They just did their job. And we just day in, day out. And I think that's, a testament to what this community is all about. And I think is why we've been relatively strong through this difficult times. And then you think about the social unrest that occurred, this summer. And yes, we had one peaceful protest and that went very well. And it shows as a good testament to our police and community relations. We didn't have people going crazy and doing nutty things. And so I think the best thing about 2020, it showed me, and I think it reflects on our community that we're good, hardworking people that are, you know, community oriented and are gonna just do what we need to do.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. Mark, any comments on that from a county perspective?
Well, a couple of years ago, we started talking about what's going on in Webster County and how we all come together. And the realization for us was Webster County starts with we. And 2020 really showed that. I think we showed up as a group, we showed up as a county, and David said it, we showed up. From the frontline workers at Unity Point to community health to public health. I mean, you look at the hours and the time that these people put in, and you really can't talk about or share anything in the county without saying we, because no one individual did this. We came together as a group and kept things moving forward. So we're fortunate to be here. We couldn't have done this without the people that came before us. You know, the city councils, the mayors, the supervisors, all the elected officials, and all the hardworking people that laid the groundwork for us to be able to do our jobs today. We're building off of those plans, and we owe a lot to them. But you see the success in the small towns, you see the success in Gowrie, Dayton, Callender, you know, all the areas around us, and Badger, their housing development. We do that as a group, because as much as we hear people say, you know, Des Moines gets everything and up here we don't get anything, we're a shining star. I love going to my county meetings down at the state and a lot of people asking questions about what's going on in Webster. And I'm proud of that. I love to be able to share the fact of our success and the ability that we have to pick up the phone and call and ask somebody a question to get things resolved, because we've taken the time to build the relationships beforehand. And we're very blessed, and I tell you, I can't be more proud of the area.
Thank you.
I would just add one last thing to what Mark just said, and it is recognized around the state that there is good collaboration here. And you have legislators from around the state, you've had governors send other communities up here to ask us, how do you get along? You know, it seems simple, but it's the exception rather than the rule. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, both of you guys made extremely good points.
All right, thank you. And I think that that's a really great way to end on that note there. And it is just a couple of minutes before 1 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you to everybody that tuned in, that submitted questions, and of course, thank you to our panelists, David, Dennis, and Mark. I appreciate you guys answering questions and just your communication and transparency about what's going on. So I wanted to let everybody know that this is going to be a recurring program. We do hope to do this quarterly going forward. So look forward to information about when those quarterly programs will take place. So thanks again, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Well, thank you, Jill, for putting on such a great program.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.